so much for joining us. Why do you, the Saudi government, support President Trump's decision?
We believe that the nuclear deal was flawed. We believe that the sunset clause should be eliminated. We believe that the inspections should be tightened. We believe that the deal does not deal with Iran's ballistic missile program, nor does it deal with Iran's support for terrorism and interference in the affairs of the countries of the region.
So if Iran now restarts its nuclear weapons program, will Saudi Arabia build a bomb itself?
I believe that if Iran restarts its enrichment program beyond what it has right now, that should trigger the snapback provisions and cause all the other P5 countries to abandon the deal and reimpose sanctions on Iran.
And what will Saudi Arabia do?
We will do whatever it takes to protect our people. We have made it very clear that if Iran acquires a nuclear capability, we will do everything we can to do the same.
And I assume that means you will acquire a nuclear capability yourself.
That's what we mean.
What's your message to the Iranian leadership right now, Foreign Minister?
Our message to the Iranian leadership is the policies of the past have got to come to an end. You cannot be a revolution. You cannot seek to expand and dominate the region. You cannot seek to acquire a nuclear program surreptitiously. You must abide by international law. You must cease supporting terrorism. You must cease providing ballistic missiles to terrorist organizations like so-called Hezbollah and the Houthis. And you must respect the principle of good neighborliness.
But do you believe, as the International Atomic Energy Agency does, and others, the Europeans, for example, the Russians, the Chinese, that Iran has been fully complying with the terms of the 2015 nuclear deal?
The agreement is flawed because by 2025 it allows Iran the ability to have unlimited enrichment capability, which could cause it to build capacity to the point where it can have enough enriched uranium for a nuclear weapon within a week. That is clearly not acceptable. That's one. Two, the inspections regime needs to be broadened and deepened. It's limited to the declared sites. It has to be 24/7, anywhere, anytime.
Did the Trump administration speak with the Saudi leadership before announcing the decision by the president yesterday?
The Trump administration talked to allies and gave them a heads up in terms of the timing of an announcement, but not the content of the announcement.
Not the specific announcement. Were you surprised?
No, because I believe it was the right thing to do. I believe that a no agreement is better than a flawed agreement. I believe that any future agreement has to be comprehensive and has to include Iran's violations of the UN resolutions with regard to ballistic missiles and Iran's support for terrorism and interference in the affairs of other countries. Otherwise, we will not be. That's the only way to stop Iran.
Why not stay in the deal, Foreign Minister, and work out a separate supplemental agreement on Iran's, for example, ballistic missile program, its actions destabilizing in the region? Why not stay in the deal and try to expand it?
The deal was flawed. I believe the president tried to work with the other P5 countries to improve the deal and fix it, and to deal with the issue of ballistic missiles and with the issue of Iran's support for terrorism and its nefarious activities in the region. But they weren't able to reach an agreement that was satisfactory, that would actually force Iran to change its behavior.
As you know, as a result of President Trump's decision, Iran is now actually, when it comes to this nuclear deal, on the same page as the Europeans, China, and Russia. The U.S. is on the outs. Are you comfortable with that situation?
The European countries, France and Germany and the UK, have made it clear that the issue of Iran's ballistic missiles and the issue of Iran's support for terrorism and interference in the affairs of the countries of the region must be dealt with. So in principle, they agree that Iran has to be held accountable for this, in addition to the nuclear program and looking for ways to fix it. So yes, we're comfortable. The US is out of the agreement. The sanctions will be reimposed. We support the US position. Our allies in Bahrain and in the United Arab Emirates and in Jordan and Egypt support this decision. The GCC Secretary General supports it. The Arab League Secretary General supports it. The Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Countries also supports it.
The Israelis clearly support it as well, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Turkish President Erdogan, on the other hand, says a crisis could be coming to the region because of this decision by President Trump. Do you have some fears that there could be an escalation of fighting, for example, in various parts of the Middle East as the result of this decision?
I hope not, but keep in mind, Wolf, that the crisis in the region began with the Khomeini revolution in 1979. Iran has been on a rampage ever since. Iran has been supporting terrorism. Iran has been creating groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis. Iran has been interfering in the affairs of other countries. And so Iran has been the source of conflict in this region. The fact that now Iran is going to be held accountable for any actions it takes, the fact that sanctions will be reimposed on Iran should be a very strong and powerful message to the Iranian regime that it must change its behavior.
I know there was another missile attack in Riyadh today. What can you tell us about that?
There were actually 2 missiles that were intercepted today over Iraq, which brings the total to almost 130 ballistic missiles launched at Saudi cities, including the capital Riyadh. These missiles are of Iranian manufacture and delivered to the Houthis by the Iranians. We believe that the Houthis are able to operate them with expertise from Hezbollah and from Iran. Such behavior is unacceptable. It violates UN resolutions with regards to ballistic missiles, and the Iranians must be held accountable for this.
So what does that mean, held accountable?
We will find the right way and at the right time to respond to this.
Including military action?
We will make this. We are trying to avoid at all costs direct military action vis-à-vis Iran, but Iran's behavior such as this cannot continue. This is tantamount to a declaration of war. When somebody provides missiles to a terrorist group that lobs those missiles at your cities and your civilians indiscriminately, what do you call it? A friendly act? Of course not.
Foreign Minister